Hi, I'm Mitch from Sonam International, and welcome to our Anaplan tutorials series. Anaplan is an extremely flexible tool both for model builders and end users. So today, I wanted to focus on the Anaplan user experience for end users. I'm going to show you how to navigate Anaplan's user interface, and I'm going to show you all the different functions, features, and actions you can take on Anaplan's pages. With this, you should be able to make the most of your Anaplan user experience. Now, this is just for the computer version of Anaplan. We're going to cover the mobile experience in a separate video. With all that, let's jump into it. And here we are in the Anaplan workspace for the Leprechaun Smoothie Company. Let's just jump right in and start showing you around the Anaplan UX. At the moment, we are looking at the home page. It doesn't matter where you are, you can always get back to the home page really easy. In a classic view, you can go to the top left and select it from the drop-down menu. If you are anywhere else, you also have access to the drop-down menu, but you can also instead just click the Anaplan icon in the top left corner. So most of the time you'll be starting at the home page, but what can you actually see here? The main thing is the recently visited models, pages, and apps in the center of the screen. If you want to see all items in a category, you can click the name with the arrow next to it like I did for apps. You can also click the blue underlined text, View All Apps, or you can go into the top right hand corner and click the icons there. Finally, you can navigate using the drop-down menu where we found the Home tab before. The next interesting thing on the home page is the Favorites tab on the right. To add something to your favorites, like a model or a page, you simply need to go to that card and click the star in the top right corner. Then you can easily select it here. To unfavorite, simply click the star again. One final really cool feature is the search feature in the top right hand corner. Here you can search for anything, such as sales, and it will show you all the models, pages, and apps which use that name. Pretty neat. And that's the basics for navigating around the home page. Let's move to apps. This is where you'll be spending a lot of your time as an Anaplan end user. Just as we did before, let's click the Apps button. Here, you'll be able to find all the apps in the workspace that you have access to. At the moment, I only have access to one app, the Leprechaun Smoothies app, so let's open that up. This is what the app page looks like. On the left, you have the categories. In the center, you can see all the pages categorized into those categories, and on the right, you can favorite a page just by clicking the star. If you use this drop-down menu, you can see the pages you visited most recently. To quickly jump to the pages in a certain category, just click the category name, and you will jump to those rather than scrolling. Now, we've just been talking about navigating through one app, but if you've got multiple apps you need to navigate through, you can use the next tab at the top here. At the moment, we only have one app, so we can't use it that well. Finally, you have the option here to create a page. This lets you create any type of page that you want without needing any coding experience. It's a little bit too advanced for this video, but we're going to go through it in a webinar. Now, as you saw, there are two different types of pages. You have your boards and you have your worksheets. Let's jump into a board and see what it looks like. Now, before we take a look at the whole board, I want to go back up to the top where the tabs are. As you can see, we have a new tab where we can see all the pages within this app and quickly jump between them. Then, if we look at the bar just underneath that, you can see three icons. The first icon is the refresh icon. The one next to it allows you to share the specific page, and then the last one lets you favorite the page. To the left, you can see the back button, which takes you back to the last page you were looking at, just like with the regular browser. On the right, if you click the three buttons, you can save a personal copy, export a PDF, or open the source model. Saving and editing personal copies is something that we will cover in the webinar, like with creating a new page, a great powerful tool that you can use in Anaplan. Looking around the screen, you can see that a lot of the text is blue with an arrow next to it. If you see that, that means it's actually a link. You can see it as text with a background, text without a background, on an image card, or even on a graph, or any other type of card for that matter. If it's blue and has an arrow, it means it links somewhere to a new page. Let's move to the production overview and see how that looks. Now this is what a more data-heavy board might look like. In the top row, where we had the refresh and favorite buttons, you can see we now have these context selectors that we can edit. These will change what data is being shown on the board. If you hover over one of these selectors, you can even see which cards it will refer to. So this card only refers to the grid in the bottom left corner. If we change it to all products, we can see all products in Australia. Pressing reset will reset the context selectors to where they were at the very start. If we look at the grid, we can see that there are also specific context selectors on that card. In this case, we've set it up so it's synchronized with the rest of the page, although that might not necessarily be the case for your pages. If we look at the card above the grid, you can also see that it's syncing with all zones, but you can't select from it. That's because it's just set as a label. One final tip about context selectors is that you can use the search function to find the specific one you are looking for. Let's take all products as an example. If we just want to select the pineapple products, it's very simple to go and search for the word pineapple rather than scrolling. Let's move on. On grids, there are a lot of different things that you can do. In the top right, you can search, filter, or export the card. Search is self-explanatory, just with the little text box. So let's move on and see the filter instead. To use the filter, you need to select a column, then this text box will pop up. You can select your condition and then add the value you want to filter by. So if you want to see March values greater than 15,000, create the filter and there you go. Simple as that. It is very easy to add as many conditions as you want just by clicking the plus button. And then to remove everything, you can press this button in the bottom which says remove all filters for this card. If you want to learn more about a specific figure in a grid, you can right-click that figure and use the drill down function. This will show you how this number was made up. What's really great is that you can find the numbers that made up this number and then drill down one step further. In fact, you can drill all the way down to the source data. The other thing you can do when right-clicking one of these cells is show the history of the cell. That means if somebody's made a change to this cell, you are able to see who did what when. So if I take an editable cell, which you can see has purple text, and change it, if I then right-click that cell and show the history, it'll show you that I made a change. Above the grid, we have a form card, which, like the grid, can have purple or black text. Again, purple means you can edit it in some way, where black means you can't. To the right of the grid, we can see a nice chart. You can hover over a specific color just to see that color, or you can use the legend to get rid of a color completely to only see what you want to see. Above the grid, we have our action cards. These can be imports, exports, forms to fill out, or any other process built in Anaplan. In the bottom left, we have an import, which in this case will get the production volumes from a CSV file you input. On the bottom right, we have an export, which will export the budget volumes for next year. In the top right, we have a process, which is, in this case, a list of multiple imports that will happen at the same time. And then in the top left, we have a form where you can add a new product SKU. Again, these are just examples of what your actions may be. That should give you a pretty good overview of what you can do when looking at a board in Anaplan. Now, let's move over and look at a worksheet to see how that is different and what we can do there. As we open this up, you will see that a worksheet is quite different from a board. We have the main grid at the center, and we have this Insights panel on the right-hand side of the screen. Furthermore, we can click one of these cards on the Insights panel and bring it up below. Let's go through each of these parts one by one, starting with the main grid. Starting with the main grid, there is much more you can do here than with a regular grid on a board. First of all the selectors are the same in the top, and you have a search function, a show history function, and filter function, just like on a board. What you don't have on a board though is the ability to pivot, like here. This allows you to change what you have in the rows, columns, and content selectors. So let's say we want to see our plants in the context selectors and we want our product SKU as our rows. It's as easy as that to manipulate our data. Furthermore, on the board we have a show and hide feature where we can choose which rows and columns we specifically want to see. So, for example, I could pick a few random product SKUs to look at, or just a summary and hit apply, and that is what it will show me. Furthermore, I can pick entire levels to see. So, if I only wanted to see the product SKU, I can select that, and it only shows me the product SKUs. I can do the same on any summary level. Just like on a board, if the model builder has allowed for data to be changed, you can do so on a worksheet. Just go down to the lowest level of granularity, in our case on a plant level, and here you can edit whatever you want. And just like before, you have access to the drill down feature, just by right-clicking. Here, though, you can see there is something else we can do, which is related to hierarchies. On a board, you can rename a list member, you can delete the list member, or you can change the parent of the list member. These are things that you can't do on a board, exclusively on worksheets. The next feature I want to show off is the sort feature. Simply pick a column, and then you can sort ascending or descending. Now, at the moment when we've sorted, you can see it is still slotted into their hierarchies. However, if we combine sort with our hide functionality, we can remove our hierarchies, and then when we sort again, it can sort without the restrictions of the hierarchies, as you can see here. When you're done playing with your sorting, you can reset any show hide you did, and then select unsort. The last buttons we need to look at for our main grid are actually just the action cards that we were looking at boards. So the plus is adding a form, just like we did before. The arrows in are your imports, the arrows out are your exports, and then the circular arrow are any other processes. Finally, if you're bored, you can play with the grid size. Make the cells large, or small, or default. That's all for the main grid that I wanted to look at. Now let's take a look at this Insights panel here. At the top, we have our Quick Links section. Here you can see any relevant pages that you can quickly jump to from the worksheet. So if we click the Home button, we're taken home. And then, just like if it's a browser, we can press the back button to go back to where we were, the Detailed Production worksheet. Underneath the Quick Links, we have our additional Insights panel, where you can put cards almost like a mini board connected to your worksheet. Once a card is on the bottom panel, it is much easier to use with some extra features. If a card is too small to read in the additional insights or is hidden, you can just click the symbol and bring it out to the bottom panel. Generally, when working with a card, it's better to bring it to the bottom panel rather than keeping it in the additional insights. Take, for example, this grid. Once we bring it to the insights, we can search, we can export, we can filter, we can sort. You can even right-click the cells to bring up the Show History and Drill Down options. When you compare this to what you can do inside the Insights panel, you can see it's quite limited. You can export, and you can show history, but that's about it. The one final thing you can do on a worksheet is saving a personal copy and editing it yourself. Once again, this is too advanced for this video. However, we have a webinar where we'll be showing this feature in depth and how you can use it to improve how well you work in Anaplan. And there's the Anaplan user experience for end users. If you have any questions about this, send me an email. The link's in the description down below. Subscribe to be notified whenever we release a new video, and follow us on LinkedIn for more helpful content. I hope you like this video. I'll see you next time. Now, the amazing thing about this board is how many different ways you can navigate anywhere. What? Come on.